Hello, I'm Martin Richter, author of Orchestral Symbolism in Wagner's Das Rheingold, available on Amazon.com. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my book and why I wrote it. I first encountered Das Rheingold in the 1970s as an undergraduate at Carnegie Mellon University. It was a strange piece of music to my ears, with none of the conventions that I had expected in an opera. The leitmotives appeared to be all that held the piece together, but I sensed that there was another unifying element, and I was determined to find it. I began to notice the patchwork style of orchestration. The colors seemed to change every few bars in an almost kaleidoscopic fashion. I began to compare statements of leitmotives. Many of them seemed to recur with identical scorings. I wondered, could this repetition be another element of musical form? Then I compared the dramatic contexts that accompanied these similar statements. They held common elements as well. Patterns began to form. The scorings shaded the leitmotives in very predictable ways. Wagner's choice of instruments paralleled the drama. The orchestral shading revealed a layer of subtext beyond the leitmotives. I gathered supporting evidence from the orchestral score and from Wagner's own prose works. The result of this evidence and my conclusions is this book. As creator of the Ring Cycle, we can almost think of Richard Wagner as a designer of a virtual world computer game. In order to create an artificial universe, a designer needs to take into account the many visual angles, characters, situations, settings, all the possibilities. Even though Wagner lived in the 1800s, this was his aesthetic: total control over every facet of the ring, so that his audience could be totally immersed in his virtual world. Wagner represented a combination of talent, philosophy, and an incredible ego. When conceiving of the Ring Cycle, he sought to achieve total control over his creation and his audience. His music was just the beginning. He also wrote his own libretti. He designed new instruments to give the ring its unique timbral signature. He took a hand in the staging and production, and even designed his own theater, the Bayreuth Festspielhaus. I mentioned Wagner's philosophy. In several of his writings, he references his philosophy of Gesamtkunstwerk, a type of aesthetic synergy in which each element of a work reinforces the others, with the result that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Every element of the ring must function within a context as both a lead and as a supporting player. The singers and the orchestral instruments are treated as equal partners. While the singers have the power of gesture and words to advance the drama, instruments offer the leitmotif as their contribution. Leitmotifs are recurring themes that convey literary dramatic ideas. The leitmotifs have this unique ability to blend music with words. Leitmotifs accumulate their power through repetition. By recurring often, the theme gradually builds an association with a character, an object, or an idea, and the theme can reinforce, it can act as a thought balloon, or it can serve to underscore a moment. Das Rheingold, in particular, is a patchwork of these themes, about 30 of them stuck together. The collection of leitmotifs gives the ring a musical language all its own, as motives bleed from one opera to the next, and the motives only exist within the boundaries of the ring. They help define the four-evening cycle as a self-contained virtual world. My book takes the musical symbols one step further. Our basic level of understanding the ring cycle comes from the words and the dramatic action. Dig a little deeper, you find a second level, the leitmotifs, which carry ideas through musical expression. I've traced these to identify a deeper level of the Gesamtkunstwerk. This level sharpens the general concepts expressed by the leitmotifs. The instruments that play the leitmotif add a connotative meaning that clarifies Wagner's intent. Timbre changes the character of the leitmotif, and scoring is a programmatic element that helps to reinforce the leitmotif. I focused on Das Rheingold because Das Rheingold introduces us to the self-contained world of the ring. It is here that Wagner teaches us to form associations and to understand his fantasy world. He is much more pedantic and much more obvious about the musical language than he will be anywhere else in the ring. The examples we find in Das Rheingold will therefore be the clearest specimens. The character of the leitmotif changes according to the instrument that plays it. The ring of power is a general idea, but what about it? Are we talking about it as a vehicle for power of the gods, or perhaps for the villains, the dwarfs? Is Wagner indicating the curse on the ring, or perhaps its secretive nature? The choice of instruments clarifies Wagner's symbolic reference. For instance, the ring motif can change its character through variation on the theme, but also through its timbre, its tone quality. What I have for you is a mashup of various statements of the ring motif that occur throughout Das Rheingold, but I kind of pushed them all together so you could hear one after another. In the first series, the ring motif is played by the combination of English horn, clarinet, and bassoon, and this scoring represents world rule for the Nibelungs.
Ihr Welt erbe wenn ich zu eigen durch dich. Das dünkt ihn nun das teuerste Gut. Von des Weines Gold hüt ich braunen. Ein Runenzauber zwingt das Gold zum Reif. Keiner kennt zu walten. Rettig will es mich dünken.
In the statements where the horn plays the ring motif, these all refer to a cluster of ideas that include the gods, fairness, justice, Valhalla, and femininity.
Als selbst den Bau sie mich band.
The programmatic intent of these scorings is remarkably consistent across motives. Here's a mashup of horn statements of various motives, the Giants, the Nibelung Smiths, and Valhalla motives that occur throughout Das Rheingold. All of them still carry the cluster of ideas carried by the horn.
Kampf gießen wir nicht. Halt, du Gieriger, können wir auch was? Sorglose Schmiede schufen wir sonst wohl Schmuck unsern Weibern, von nicht geschmeit. Dankst intim.
The similarity of timbre corresponds with similarity of dramatic meaning. Note that the largest statement of the Valhalla motive, the one that precedes Scene 2 of Das Rheingold, is played for us by a full brass choir. There are trumpets, bass trumpet, trombones, an entire battery of tubas, but the horn is strangely absent. Perhaps Wagner is hinting at the idea that while the palace itself is large, imposing, sparkly, glittering, and elegant, it lacks the nobility that the horn represents. We can use the clues that we find in programmatic scoring to piece together bits of the story not told through the words, kind of like reading between the panels of a comic strip. The result is another layer of subtext that further clarifies Wagner's often cryptic intentions and realizes the Gesamtkunstwerk, a fusion of music, words, and motion. Orchestral symbolism in Wagner's Das Rheingold provides a huge body of evidence to prove that programmatic scoring is real and to show how its interpretation can be used to enhance performances of Das Rheingold. Just like Wagner's leitmotives throughout history, I've proposed labels which we can use to interpret the symbols. I also note that the labels are meant to open, not close the discussion of the symbols. They are certainly open to reinterpretation. 33 years after the book's first printing, I have revised the original text and added new sections of analysis to demonstrate the usefulness of interpreting Wagner's orchestral symbols and the effect on performance practice. Perceiving Das Rheingold on this level has enabled me to understand the work in much greater depth. I hope that my findings can lead others toward a deeper appreciation of Das Rheingold and inspire conductors, performers, and stage directors to utilize the symbols hidden in Wagner's orchestration to achieve their own optimal performances. If you have any questions for me or would like information on orchestral symbolism in Wagner's Das Rheingold, I invite you to contact me at martinsrichter.com. Thank you.